Well, good evening, Portage Bible Church. It's Pastor Ben here. It's July the 1st already. Summer's well underway, and it has been a good time so far. Here, as we get ready to do this video for our upcoming message this Sunday, I didn't do a couple videos this last week as we had a guest speaker in, and that was a wonderful time. I hope you were blessed by his message. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, you can still go to our YouTube page and watch that the Sunday service and the missionaries and their presentation, as well as his message to us from the book of Joshua. But this Sunday, we are returning to the book of James, picking up our study in James chapter 1, verses 5 through 8. And as we continue this study, a few things I want us to think on as we prepare our hearts and our minds for this Sunday is this idea as the book of James unfolds. Chapter 1 of James is quite lengthy, and it has a lot of information that rapidly progresses, in some ways in very general terms. And what we'll see as we progress is that James really outlines his whole thought in this chapter in very quick format. And then chapters 2 through 5, he delves into each of these topics a little more in depth, which we'll get there in turn. But here in James chapter 1, we have this idea of if any of you lacks wisdom. Now, if you remember from our previous message, verse 4 ended with this, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. The idea of trials that come and counting it all joy is the fact that God uses trials to mature our faith, that we may be conformed into his image and more like his son, Jesus Christ. And the trials and difficulties of life to make us stronger. And the goal of that is we would be all throughout our lives that come and go. And yet, in the midst of that, this is a work of sanctification and progress. So although we're not perfect and complete yet, that's the goal. But until that day, God is going to keep working on us. So to that end, through the Holy Spirit, the Apostle James tells us, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all, without reproach, and it will be given to him. Chapter 1, verse 5, where we will start this coming Sunday all the way through verse 8. There's this idea that we are a work in progress under the sovereign hand of God, maturing and growing our faith so that it is tested and proved. And when we need help and through the various trials and struggles, what are we to do? We're to call out to God and ask for wisdom in his timing and his grace and his sufficiency for each trial and struggle that is sure to come our way. And they will come. That's one thing we're going to be reminded of again and again throughout this short letter of James. The trials are not optional. We're not going to sit around and just wait for them to happen, and we're not going to try to resist them when they do, but rather to be ready now for them when they come. And part of that is being prayerful. Part of that is being reminded that God is in control and believing and knowing that he is indeed at work in us. So as we approach this Sunday, here on this Thursday night, whenever you watch this video, maybe tomorrow on Friday or Saturday, be prayerful as you read the text, James 1, 5, 8, and start to pray and say, God, give me wisdom. And he is gracious to give it to us for each and every day and struggle, because he is indeed a gracious God. And the thing I want to remind us of before we sign off here is this fact that we know as believers that trials and struggles are part of the Christian life. And yet some reason in our selfishness and in our pride, we think that somehow we can find a way to work around them or excuse them. But that's simply not the case. But when they do come, God's grace is sufficient for it. And all he asks is that we call out to him so that we know that he's in control and that we depend on him. So I hope that it stirs your heart a little bit, gets you thinking as we dive into this passage on this coming Sunday. Hope you have a blessed night and a good day on Friday tomorrow, if that's when you happen to be watching this video. And we'll see you Sunday.